Hello, class, and welcome to the first review day. Today we're going to take a look at Units 1 and 2, which is 1 and 2 variable stats. So, for your final exam, folks, please make sure you check the website because it'll tell you what day and at what time and in what room. Usually it's going to be at 9 a.m. Not sure what year you're listening to here, folks. That's why I'm not going to put the date in. And it's usually going to be in room 307 if I'm teaching math. That's where it is. That's Miss R's room. And remember that your final exams were 20% of your overall mark because your formal evaluations were 30. Remember that the other 10% to make that 30 is your final project that you've hopefully handed in or will hand in shortly. And that 10% plus the 20 gives you your formal evaluation of 30%. Okay, so it depends on, again, what year we're in, how many class days we have left to review, okay, but it's not enough time to review everything, so start early and complete the following to help you. Okay, so I would recommend you print off the review package that is attached to the website, and we have 5 days of review. As well, I would like you to do these following things to help yourself get prepared for your final assessment. So first of all, create a set of study notes. You may wish to do that after each review, or use the review notes that you have from each unit test if you've written them down. That would be awesome. Okay, here are some suggested text pages. Make sure that you use the TI-83 whenever possible. It'll be your best friend on your final exam. Okay, keep in mind that you will be creating a button sheet that will be due probably the last school day before your exam. Okay, and just make sure that when you're going through these examples that you know how to use technology, and sometimes if you know how to do it by hand. Okay. All right, so after you tried some of those questions, I think those are like chapter review questions that are multi-chaptered together. Okay, number 3, do your tests again. So I gave you your tests back. You could just rewrite some questions and help you figure that out. There is a practice exam, and here are some questions on page 477. Please, folks, I understand that your module work might be done, but for your final exam, start early like tonight. Remember that students learn mathematics by doing mathematics, not by looking over notes. So the more practicing of examples you do, the better you will be able to be successful on your final exam. Review all material, but focus on the material that you don't understand, and as always, come and see me for extra help. All right, so that is your getting ready for a review. Here we go. We're going to start with review unit 1 and 2. So here are the topics we're going to focus on, 1 and 2 variable stats. So types of data, make sure you know if they're continuous or discrete, if they're ordinal or if they're not. If they are all those different types of classifications, make sure you know one or the other, qualitative or quantitative, etc. Okay? Make sure with when you do surveys that you know what a bias survey is, sampling, types of questions for surveys. Make sure you know different types of graphs, how to do a box and whisker, a stem plot, frequency diagrams, and polygons. Remember that when we do 1 variable stats, we need to know the mean, the mode, the median, the IQR, the range, the standard deviation. Okay? For unit 2, remember we were taking 1 variable versus another. So just to back up, unit 1, 1 variable stat is frequency versus a topic event, whereas unit 2 is 1 event plotted against another. So when you take a look at scatter plots, you could be able to tell me the type, if it's positive or negative, and the strength, if it's moderate, strong, or weak. Okay? All right. So remember, we have what's called the line of best fit equation, or we will later on have the curve of best fit, okay, if it's nonlinear, okay. Make sure you know how to do interpolation and extrapolation. Interpolation is taking a look at data within the data set. Extrapolation is extrapolating or making predictions into the future or outside the data set. Okay, so with 2 variable stats, make sure you know what the correlation coefficient is, which is R. The coefficient of determination, which is R squared. It's a little different. The least squared method is finding the line of best fit. Linear regression is finding, make sure you have your diagnostics on in order to do linear regression and nonlinear regressions. Okay, so Definitions surrounding two variable stats like cause and effect, common cause, reverse common cause, etc. Okay, now let's take a look at some examples, guys. All right, so we are going to focus our review on prom and getting ready for prom. Okay, so when students bought their prom tickets, everyone was asked how much they would be willing to pay for a handsome cab ride um, to or at prom. Okay, so what we want to focus on that everyone was asked. So what does that tell us? That tells us some information in terms of sampler population. And when students bought their tickets, so we're just talking about students that bought their tickets. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some data that was collected when people organized for prom. Okay, so the data is shown to the right, so we're taking a look here at this table. Okay, what type of data is this? So use several words to describe. So first of all, do you want to take a look? Is it first of all, we take a look at our different classifications. Well, it's got numbers in it, so it's numeric. Okay. Is it continuous data or discrete? Well, it's continuous. Okay. All right. We know that it's primary because it comes from the person who did, when they bought it, they asked. Okay. And it's quantitative. Okay. And it's also observational. Okay. All right. Second question, what type of sample is this? Well, when we take a look, this is a type of a population because everybody's answered. Okay, so what does this mean? This is a census, so everyone is included. So because everyone was in the question, so this is a census. Okay. What type of question was this? Well, when they asked the question, how much would you be willing to pay for prom? Well, there wasn't any choices given, so this is what we call an open response, okay, because no choices were given. Okay. All right. D, explain how the data were organized into the table. Well, first of all, when we take a look at how much money they'd be willing to spend and the frequency, well, we don't have every value, but we have a number of values. So we've got 10, 30, 50, okay? So remember, usually when we take a look at the amount, that 10 usually represents an interval, and it's usually a midpoint. So that's probably 0 to 20. This is probably 20 to 40. This is probably 40 to 60, etc. Okay, so how was it organized? It was organized into intervals. Okay, and the midpoints were given. Okay, so the intervals were 0 to 20, 20 to 40, etc. And it went from 110, since it was 110, so we'll go 100 to 120. Okay. All right. Next question. Discuss possible sources of biases. Okay. Well, a couple different things we could have is we could have a non-response bias. And that's if someone refused to answer. Okay. It also could be a response bias if someone was dishonest. Say they would go in and they really had no intention of doing it. All right. So for F, it says to create a cumulative frequency polygon I did that already, folks, just in the interest of time. Remember the cumulative polygon, it just keeps adding it up. So what I would like to do in order for this to make sense is let's go back up to our table. Sorry, I forgot an R there. Let's go back to the table and let's do a cumulative frequency. So I'm just going to go like this. CUM frequency. Okay, so we're going to start with 34, and then we add 12, it's going to give us 46. Then we add 28, 74, we add 8, 82, we add 6, 88, and then we add 2 to 90. Okay, so those are the values that create our cumulative frequency polygon. Okay, and please make sure that you have a title. Your axes and scales are labeled accordingly, and you've got your proper units there. Awesome. Okay. D says to calculate the values. Okay. So you would take your graphing calculator out. You would put the midpoints in L1. You'd put the frequency in L2. Okay. If you need help, if you forget about all these, I'm going to say in the textbook to see page 530 if you need help with this. Okay. So plug it in your calculator. And after you do this, the mean is going to be the mu equals $38. Okay. Range is going to be your highest value for your midpoint. Subtract your lowest value. So there's a range of $100 that people would spend. Okay. The median, folks, is Q2, which you could just find in your stats data, or you could calculate the 50th percentile, and that equals $30. Okay, the mode, that's where you have to take a look at the most frequent. I'm just going to zoom back up here quickly. So the mode, so you look at the most frequent column, and that tells you that it's most occurring in the first, which is the interval of 10 to 20. So we're just going to assume a mode of $10. Okay, we are going to then take a look at IQR. IQR is the Q3 subtract Q1. That's something you need to know. Or, hey, just look that up on your formula sheet. I forget you got that formula sheet that tells you that. So it's going to be 50 subtract 10, which equals $40. Okay. And the last one is when you take a look at your stats data, since everybody's included, you're using the sigma x, not the s at x. And it's going to be 27.13. Okay. All right, let's take a look at another example. Okay, a concern for Miss Smith is in renting the handsome cab for prom is that only the rich kids would be interested. Below is a systematic sample of students buying prom tickets. Okay, so what we want to take a look at here is how do we figure this out? How do we set up the systematic example? Well, first of all, how many people total were going? Okay. Well, if you go back and you notice that there's a total of 90. Okay. So if you're wondering where that's coming from, let me just see, folks. If I go back quickly to my table and we total this up, or take a look at your cumulative frequency, you already know that there's 90 total. Okay. So we have 90 total. Okay. Okay. And we're going to divide by how many people do we want? We want to take a look at dividing by 8 in my sample. Okay. So when we take a look at this, this is going to equal, plug in your calculator, 11.25. Okay, so what does that mean? Systematically, we want to survey every 11th person. So therefore, we will survey every 11th person. Okay. All right. So we're going to take a look at is when we survey the people. Okay. So we've got our 8 people here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. And when we've surveyed the 8 people, we've got their response in here, and we're going to plot it and do a scatter plot. Okay? All right. Where X is the family income in thousands and how much they'd be willing to spend. Okay? All right. Remember, make sure you got a title and proper units and proper communication in terms of scale. Okay. A, explain the correlation that Mrs. Smith is expecting. Well, first of all, you're going to know it's positive. And noticing that the data is pretty close together, it's going to be a strong positive correlation. Okay. All right. And if they want us to describe it, if they said to describe it, you would say, as the family income increases, so does the cost of people will be willing to spend. Okay? All right. Second one, do a scatter plot and include a guess for your line of best fit. So that just tells you that you can visually make sure you can do this. Complete the least squares regression. That just means linear regression. Textbook just use least squares. Okay. And if you need help on doing that, ladies and gentlemen, actually calculating that, look at page 519. It'll go over it. And when you take a look at doing your correlation coefficient, remember you turn diagnostics on. So you plug this information in your calculator. This goes under L1. This goes under L2. And then you want to do the linear regression. Okay, and you should get the equation of y equals positive 0.93 if I round that, x minus 17.70 if I round it 2 decimal places, and your r value equals a positive 0.4274. Okay, so what it actually tells us is that it's a moderate positive. Okay, even though it looked strong on our graph, it was a moderate positive. Okay, so if you're for sure forgetting what the description is of that, you can see page 163 that describes the different correlation types. So this is a moderate positive correlation. Okay, where as the family income increases, so does the amount students are willing to spend. Okay. All right, so that is it for today, folks. We will start the next review next day. So have a great day, folks, and if you need some help, let me know. Okay, so for your homework, folks, there's none posted here, but the ones we have, I'm just going to show you back here. I would show you folks that start doing some of this stuff here to help you be successful and go over your past unit test. All right? Have a great day, guys, and come see me if you need help.